go. Sam, why don't you go ahead and start? Sam of 350 Massachusetts.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mary Ellen, for hosting and for giving me the opportunity to speak. So I'm going to start by giving a brief overview of 350 Mass. So 350 Massachusetts is home to 17 different local community groups that we call nodes, and they stretch all the way from Cape Cod to the Berkshires. Each of our nodes operates with a high level of independence on issues and campaigns local to their communities. And together, the nodes coordinate efforts for statewide campaigns, national and international actions. We are also home to over a dozen working groups, which organize statewide across issues and campaigns. Right now, we are doing everything on Zoom, so it is a very good time to join 350 Mass because you can go to a node and just pop in and see what your local node or even a node in another area of Massachusetts see what they're doing, or join one of our working groups. And I'll put some links in the chat when I'm done talking. But we just built a new website that we are really happy to launch, and that has so many places you can sign up for our newsletter, to join one of our nodes, to join one of our working groups. So every 2 years at 350 Mass, we plan a new campaign. And the campaign has some wide-reaching goals, and each subsequent campaign is supposed to build on the last campaign. Our previous campaign was called The Road to the Green New Deal, and we completed this in 2020. And it paved the way to our current campaign, which is Bringing the Green New Deal Home. So during the last legislative session, we saw the Next Generation Roadmap Bill finally get passed, which creates a roadmap to net zero carbon emissions in Massachusetts by 2050. This is a good start. We definitely think we have to go a lot further than that. But we think that especially the 2030 deadline of 50% emissions reduction of our 1990 levels is so important to make sure that we begin acting now, because the chance to act in order to mitigate the worst of climate change was yesterday. This campaign involves action at all levels of government: local, national, international. And one of the main focuses of this campaign is we hope to draw focus and resources to the energy consumptions of homes and buildings. In Massachusetts, it is estimated that more than 40% of all carbon dioxide emissions come from buildings. That's almost half. So in order to be in line with the legal requirements that the Next Generation Roadmap put in place, we believe that it is vital that we focus on buildings, and that will involve retrofits, that will involve new building codes that ensure that new construction is made in an energy efficient and sustainable manner. It is a core belief of 350 Mass that climate change affects everyone, not just environmentalists, and it disproportionately affects poor, Black, Brown, Indigenous communities. So we are very committed to environmental justice. And that is one of the reasons why we are focusing our efforts at building retrofits through the Massachusetts Renews Alliance, which is a coalition of over 70 organizations in Massachusetts that represent climate, labor, youth, Indigenous, environmental justice groups, and more progressive organizers. With the Massachusetts Renews Alliance, we are putting 3 pieces of legislation forward this session. Here, I'm going to share my screen. So the 3 pieces of legislation we're putting forward with the Massachusetts Renews Alliance are the Building Justice with Jobs Act, and the Food Justice with Jobs Act, and Food Justice Frontline. So together, we're hoping to retrofit 1 million homes with the Building Justice with Jobs Act, and bring local community agriculture projects, bring new jobs to them, and bring new state resources to them in order to allow them to thrive and to create more food independence in Massachusetts. So the main goals of the Building Justice with Job Acts are to retrofit 1 million homes, which is a big endeavor. We would hope to do that by tackling 100,000 homes every year and then have accomplished that by 2030. This would help improve health and safety and slash emissions dramatically. So much of our emissions come from heating old, inefficient homes and other outdated infrastructure that is in homes and buildings across Massachusetts. We also believe that we want to circumvent the traditional pitting of labor against the climate movement that we see many of the enemies of climate action try to do, which is one of the reasons that we're doing this in close coordination with labor and unions such as 32BJ and Community Labor United. And we are focusing on making many of the jobs that are generated by these acts guaranteed union jobs with good pay and good benefits. So what does a retrofit mean? It can mean a lot of different things. It can mean improving the building shell to reduce air leaks and increase insulation, to eliminate heating emissions, which one of the main things that we'll have to do is also ensure that the electricity going to these homes is coming from renewable sources, which is why we also are behind wind projects, solar projects in Massachusetts, and hope to see those go alongside these bills. We want to eliminate hot water emissions with heat pumps or on-demand hot water, and eliminate cooking emissions with induction stovetops. There are many health impacts of our bad buildings in Massachusetts. We still have asbestos and other dangerous chemicals in so many buildings across the state. So not just a climate issue, retrofitting homes is an environmental justice issue because it is often poor communities that are left behind and have people who live in outdated housing infrastructure. So the hope is to ramp up production or retrofits as we go, because as we ready the systems to do these retrofits, we believe we will become better and better at it over the years. And there's no reason we have to stop at 1 million homes in 2030. This is very much aligned with our 2040 and 2050 goals as well. Skip this one. So the Food Justice with Jobs Act creates growing spaces for low-income and environmental justice communities and sponsors job creation in these same communities. And it will take into account environmental concerns and labor justice and support food independence in communities that often struggle to have access to fresh, healthy fruits and vegetables. The Food Justice Frontline Act will create youth jobs for outreach and to further help increase this food security. It will also create adult jobs for food security work, again, targeting low income and environmental justice communities. And now we get to one of the biggest questions that we get asked when we present these bills, and that's how are we going to pay for it? And as you can see on this slide, we have plenty of ideas for how we can pay for it. But I think that this question is such a bad question when you look at the cost of inaction. Making these changes will actually save us money down the line. If we ignore the human costs of climate change, that I don't think we should, but if we do, simply from a budget standpoint, it makes so much more sense to treat climate as the emergency that it is now, rather than to be stuck cleaning up the pieces in the midst of crisis years from now. And we are already seeing more extreme weather events happen every year. Climate change is not something of the future. It is something happening now. And when our communities are on fire, when there are droughts going on, when there are acute crises, we don't ask how much it costs. We come to help mitigate the damage. And we need to have that sense of urgency right now because we can do the most to prevent and mitigate the worst of climate change right now. That being said, We can require the 1% to pay their fair share of taxes, tax unearned income. We can reduce spending by freeing nonviolent drug offenders held by the state, and we can raise the corporate tax rate. These are all measures that we can easily take that can help finance these bills and ensure that we have a clean future for the next generations. Additionally, many of you are probably aware of the whole infrastructure thing going on federally. So we know that there is a bipartisan infrastructure bill that is mostly not going to include climate. And this is disappointing to us, but we are hoping to get many of our big asks in the reconciliation bill that Democrats will be agreeing on probably sometime this month. So we have some big goals from that. We were hoping for $10 trillion over the next 10 years to address climate change. And again, this is a drop in the bucket compared to what we would have to spend to clean up the disasters as they come. But we're hearing that we'll probably have closer to a $3.5 trillion number that will address care workers and other sectors in addition to climate. But we are hoping to partially pay for these Massachusetts programs with some federal money from this. And we are asking, for example, for $600 billion nationally to retrofit public buildings, including schools and public housing. And we want to fully fund a civilian climate corps that would tackle infrastructure with a sustainable lens. And again, we are very committed to fair labor standards and equity through all of these acts. We believe that through investing in the renewable energy economy, we can also bring good, well-paying jobs to many Americans and in many communities that are hurting right now with access to good jobs. So that is a bit of the background of one of our main focuses at 350 Mass. And if you're interested in learning more, I will drop a link in the chat in one moment and urge you to sign up for our newsletter, where we send out weekly action alerts and let you know what is going on in the climate movement in Massachusetts. And from there, you can get involved with a node, get involved with a working group. We have working groups that cover all sorts of topics, from transportation to solidarity to federal engagement. And we hope to see you there. Thank you.